when you say it like that. Oh.
Hey guys! So in my last video I talked about how to improve, and I figured I would follow that up with another video, but specifically talking about something that you can improve on. When I was a young artist, I struggled with color theory a lot. I thought I knew it, and I really didn't. And I would stress out about it a lot. So I want to make a video for you guys if this is one thing that you want to improve on. This is something that you can use as a resource. So something that when I was looking for, when I was first trying to learn color theory, something I noticed was that everyone starts off by talking about the color wheel and talking about this is the split tertiary color combination and this is a double complementary what the fuck ever. And they talk about it like that. And you know what? I fucking hate that shit. I don't think it's useful in the slightest. There is not a single professional artist out there that off the top of their head can name all of those fancy terms for this color works good with this color. And you know what? No one uses that bullshit. No one looks at the color wheel and says, okay, well the video told me that if I use orange, green, and blue, no one does that. Because when you're selecting colors for your palette, yeah, they might technically be following the rules or whatever, but artists tend to lighten things, darken things, desaturate things, layer lots of different colors. So I don't feel like the color wheel really works in order to teach color theory. I mean, it works in some areas, and I will be talking about it a little bit more later, but this video is not going to teach color theory like that. I'm going to tell you guys what I've learned and my techniques and how I figure things out. And it's very unprofessional, but I don't give a fuck. I think this is the more realistic way to do colors. So if you want that kind of thing, click on, because this is not the thing for you. But if you want the real down and dirty techniques and approaches, I have something for you. And before I get started, I'm going to say right now, one, this video is probably going to be really long, sorry. And two, I'm going to be talking about a lot of things that are very traditional art specific. This does not mean that if you're a digital artist, you can't watch this video to use these techniques, but you're going to have to kind of figure out how to do what I'm saying on the computer, because those are two very different things. I'm not good at digital art. We're going to talk traditional, because that's how I learned, and quite frankly, I think it's the best way to learn, but that's an opinion for me. You can disagree, so whatever. So let's get started. Colors. So the first things first, you're going to need some supplies. I learned with watercolors, a cheapy little, it was $6 praying watercolor set. I think that using paint is a really great way to learn at first, because it forces you to use the paint that you've already mixed. So once you kind of limit your color palette, which I'm going to get to in a second, you've already limited it, and it's going to keep you from straying away and using lots and lots of different colors. And then on top of the watercolor, I like to use colored pencils. Go on top and layer in other colors with the colored pencil. And then if I layer something in colored pencil that I don't like, I can always erase it and keep trying. So I feel like those two things will help a lot. That does not mean that you can't use soft pastel or a variety of other mediums, but I think this helps a lot. So anywho, so you got your supplies and you're like, let's go Biana, let's make some colors. The first thing I want to tell you guys is to limit your color palette, which if you've been doing research, you've heard this phrase a million times, and you're probably thinking to yourself, again? I've already limited it. You probably haven't. When I say limit, I mean use anywhere between 2 and 5 colors. 5 is your max. That's it. 5 colors. You don't need any more than that. Maybe you can get away with 6, but I'm telling you, 5 is plenty. And you might be thinking to yourself, oh my god, 5? I need a lot more. How I've got this huge composition, I've got all these different things. I can't just use 5. But let me argue with you. Let me use some math. If you oh shit, she's using math in an art video. So if you take these 5 colors and you mix each color with the 5, between themselves, 5 times 5 is 25 colors. 25. You cannot argue with me and tell me, I can't use those 25, I need more than that. No, 25 is plenty. And then you can stretch that 25 even more, either by mixing the 25 with themselves or by lightening the colors or adding more value. You know, you can do a lot with those colors. So the thing is, those 5 colors that you mixed are always going to look better than if you had just picked 25 random colors from a color palette, because all of these colors have been mixed. They have harmonized, they've gotten to know each other, they like each other, they'll work. I swear to you they will. No matter what 5 colors you pick, if you mix all of them like that, they're going to work with each other, whereas picking randomly is not great. So you've taken out all the grunt work, okay? Only having a few colors means that you don't have to make that many decisions, and the decisions you make are going to work no matter what. So yay! So we've got some colors. Picking your favorite colors is a really good way to kind of get started because you're dipping your toe into it or whatever. But yeah, just pick some colors that you're interested in. I'm going to talk a little bit about the color wheel because I know like picking the colors is the most stressful part, so I might as well like really talk about this most. The only thing I will say is that complementary colors are really good guides. If you have a very warm tone palette with lots of orange, you might want to use some blue to kind of help balance it a little bit. Don't go crazy with the complements. Don't use 50-50 of each because that looks really bad. But keep it in mind when you're thinking of what things to use. So, for example, let's say I'm using orange and blue, going back to that example. Rather than using just straight orange, straight blue, which don't look that great, try to unite those colors. So, let's say you have a warmer toned orange. You're going to want to use a warmer toned blue because both of them are being connected by red. Okay, and then opposite, let's say you have a more cool toned orange, so something a little bit more yellowy. You're going to want to use a more yellowish, almost greenish kind of blue because then green is uniting them, okay? You see what I'm saying here? You can use the color wheel a little bit, but complements are like the easiest thing in the freaking book and you can use them for everything. So that can kind of guide you a little bit too. Same thing with your favorite colors, using those, and just kind of seeing what you see around. But I'll get to that in a little second. Alright, so we've got some colors, we have our supplies, now we're like, let's make an illustration. First thing I like to do is I'll do a just really, really light wash of color to kind of use as my underpainting. Why would I want to cover the whole thing with a color? Using an underpainting is a really, really great way to help figure out what colors are working and what colors aren't working. Let's say you're doing a very pale, yellowish, warmish, like orange kind of color. When you put your colors like on top of that for your flats, you're gonna like notice immediately if this color works with the background, with the underpainting, or if it doesn't. If it doesn't work, it's gonna stick out like a sore thumb, alright? So you'll know, okay, shit, that doesn't look super good, but I'll work with it, I'll make it work. So that's gonna help guide you a lot because it's gonna naturally lead your colors in a direction that's good. So you wanna use an underpainting. The next step is you're going to want to do just flats. And by flats, I mean just pick the one color, like the base color, and fill in those sections. No shading, no layering, no getting fancy with it. And do all your flats at once. Get the entire thing done, alright? Do not, and I see this all the time with young people, and I did it myself, so I'm calling myself out here. What you end up doing is you're like, I don't really know what I'm going to do for the rest of it, but I know that this one flower is going to be purple. So I'm going to like make it purple, and then I'm going to add like red little veins in the flower petals and green leaves and yellow stamen, and like you add all this other shit. And then you're like, oh my god, I don't know what I'm going to do for the rest of it, but this one's so detailed and I don't know how to match this detailed thing with everything else, and now I'm stressed out, and you panic, okay? Don't do that. I'm telling you guys, just do flat, 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 flat. Don't even think about shading, just get it down. And this is a very scary step because when you have only flat colors, you're going to be thinking, oh my god, these look really ugly next to each other. What the fuck do I do? It's ruined! Or at least that's how I am all the time. But don't worry, because the next step is doing lots of shading and layering. Layers are your friend. Oh my god. So you got your 5 colors, right? Okay, now you're going to thin them out, make them more sheer, maybe make them darker. You're going to add your shadows. You're going to kind of do different washes of color. You're just going to use those colors everywhere. What do I mean by everywhere? Let's say you've got a drawing and you've got a girl of some kind of skin tone and she's surrounded by a whole bunch of flowers or something, right? You might be thinking to yourself, okay, well, I'm going to make the girl's skin tone this color, and I'm going to make the flowers this color, this color, this color, this color. and then you're not going to mix the two. I'm telling you that's a bad idea. What you're going to do is you're going to take that skin color, whatever the hell color that you picked, and you're going to use it in the flowers, and you're going to take those flower colors and use it in your skin tone. And you might be like, well, how the fuck do I do that? Like, I don't want the flowers to be skin toned, and I don't want her skin to be purple, green, and blue. Trust me on this. What you're going to do is you're going to make those colors pretty pale or maybe a little bit dark depending on where you're like kind of putting them in. You can sneak a ton of colors in the shadows. Tons of colors. And you can kind of use them in little areas to add warmth or coolness, but just make sure that you're not only using every single color that you've got, which, you know, you've got a limited palette, you're going to have to use all of them. Make sure you're using all the colors and make sure that you're using them everywhere, because that's going to harmonize. I almost said harmonize. It's going to harmonize the entire piece, and it's going to make them all work together. So really, don't just use one color in one spot. Even if you have a composition that naturally lends itself to having that one punch of color, like let's say you're doing an illustration of Little Red Riding Hood in the woods, okay? She's got a bright red cape and the woods are all green. Even if you were doing something like that, you want to use some red elsewhere, all over the place. And you might be like, well, how the fuck would I do that, Biana? What you're going to do is you're going to mix the red a little bit with the greens, make it kind of darker, make it a little bit desaturated, and sneak it into the shadows of things. That way, the red cape is still going to pop out, but it's not going to be like this jarring like thing to look at. It's still going to harmonize with the rest of the piece. It'll be really subtle, but I'm telling you, it's going to look really, really good. To go over, we have the underpainting, we've got the flat colors, flat. Then you can go in with the detail work, and now that you're done with that, you might still be looking at it and you might be like, I don't know, I still don't quite feel like these are good enough. That's when you get into the colored pencils. Take your colored pencils or any sort of dry media and you can just go on top of those colors with other colors and kind of see what works, mess around with it. Maybe what you need to do is add kind of some orangey red tones everywhere, and that'll help unite it. Maybe it's a cool kind of piece and maybe you want to add some purple. See what you can do to kind of make things work, and if you realize that something's not working, that's fine, erase it and keep going. What I guarantee is that there's always some color out there that will help unite everything. If things are looking bad, there's always something that's going to be your savior. You just got to keep looking for it. So that's kind of my technique. That's what I do, and I've got a whole bunch of other tips to help you out as well. For one thing, mixing your complementary colors is going to make them more desaturated the more you mix them, which is okay if you're going for a very kind of grayish sort of look. But I'm telling you right now, when you're mixing the colors in your little palette, if you mix red and green, you're going to get this very weird greenish, almost purpley sort of gray, and it's going to look really, really like gross. So you can mix your complements. You just got to make sure that you have one complement be a lot stronger than the other one. That way you're going to get really pretty desaturated hues, and that isn't that ugly gray. Speaking of desaturated hues, something that I read during my studies is that ugly colors look really good next to pretty colors, and pretty colors look really good next to ugly colors. So something that young artists tend to do a lot is they'll take all the prettiest colors that they can get, which are usually very bright and saturated, and they'll use all of them on the picture, and then they'll be like, why does this look like shit? What happens if you use a lot of bright colors is that everything is vying for your attention. So the viewer is sitting there like in shock because their eye is going from this to this, this, and they're like freaking out. There's nowhere for them to rest. It's just too much. So what you're going to do is you're going to use your bright, pretty colors kind of sparingly, and you're going to help surround them a little bit with more muted, more desaturated, ugly sort of colors. Because that'll make your prettier colors really stand out and look nice in the areas that you really want them to kind of glow. And then the uglier colors look really, really good next to the pretty colors. They're going to naturally have a little bit more punch to them. So it's going to like give your viewers some places to kind of focus and kind of rest, and it's also going to help kind of unify the whole thing. And that's all the color theory really is. It's just fighting really hard to unify everything. Listen to your gut. If you're doing something and your gut is telling you, you know what this needs? Green. Listen to it. Because even though your gut might seem wrong at first, like let's say you use that green in an area and you're like, this looks like shit, why the fuck did you tell me to do this? If you use that green everywhere, you might realize that it might look really good. For some reason, your gut is always right. So really like listen to your instincts here. If you do pick a color that you're using it and you're like, ah shit, this doesn't look good, maybe don't erase it. try using it everywhere. Something that I've noticed is like, if you just take a color and you use it all over the piece, it's going to unify and blend well pretty much no matter what. So don't panic too much. And that's honestly, that's kind of my last big tip. Don't, your art is going to go through some rough phases, especially when you're doing the flat colors. You might be feeling a lot of self-doubt because you're going to be like, these don't look good together. I'm going to have to restart over. Oh my God, this doesn't look good. But the more you work with it, I promise you the better it's going to get. Even to this day, when I'm doing like my storefronts for the 100 Design Challenge, like I'll be doing my flat colors and I'll be like, Jesus, Biana, this is horrible, and I have to restart. But then I'll keep working and working and working, and then very slowly things will kind of come together, and very soon I've got really, really amazing color combinations that I never would have thought of if I was like, you know, just picking from a palette, but because I've mixed and blended and done all this cool stuff, it really comes together. So now I've given you as much information as I can. There's always other resources. I'm sorry, I have something in my eye. Lots of other videos and stuff online, but personally I find that the best way to learn color theory is, one, practice it a lot yourself, mix little color palettes, play with your paint, try, practice, and also look to other images online. You know, look to other artists. What kind of colors do they use? How do they use their colors? And look at photography. Something that I really liked to do when I was learning was I went on Tumblr and I followed a whole bunch of blogs that like reblogged exclusively color palettes, like just color palettes all day. So I would look at those palettes. I would look at photography that like had really, really good uses of color, and I try to figure out what they were doing. And I would look at just like anything that I found that I thought really pretty. I would kind of like save it in the back of my mind, or like literally save it on my phone, and then I could go back to it later and be like, okay, so I like this palette, I think I'm going to try that in these pieces, and it's really successful. It's really awesome. So I think that's everything. I know this isn't like the most comprehensive like master's guide to color theory, but these techniques, I promise you, are the most real world kind of things that you can do to learn color theory. Obviously you still need to practice, you still need to kind of get it down, but you're going to get a lot better at this over time, and it's going to be really great. Colors are amazing. I love using them. I love using lots of really rich colors all the time, and I think it really makes a piece look awesome if you've got your colors on lock. And you have any questions, if I didn't make things clear, or just you have anything that you want to say in general, you can always leave a comment down below because I always read them and I usually respond. And if you have a suggestion or a question or something for a future video, you can also tell me down below. I do look for that stuff. And if you have a specific question or concern, I will make that video before any other video that I have kind of in the mental queue, okay? So you can always do that. You can always also see my artwork on Instagram, Tumblr, and Snapchat. All of them are Biana Bova, which are, there's links in the description for you to follow me and see what the fuck I've been doing. And please, if you like this video, please give it a like, because that way it'll spread all throughout YouTube and other people can see it. And if you really, really like my videos, I'd appreciate it if you subscribe to my channel, because I do lots of cool stuff like this all the time. Well, at least I think it's cool, but whatever. I think that's it. I think that's it. I'm not sure, but I think that's it. Anyway, thank you guys for watching this video. I'm sorry this was really long, but I hope it was useful and helpful to you guys. And I will see you in the next video. Have an awesome day, and I'll see you later, guys. Bye!
When you say it like that,